Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, the Gregorian calendar New Year is about to start soon, a few hours away at least. And I'm sure that so many of you are excited and celebrating. Or maybe you're like me and it's just another day and you don't really care. But it does look like that so far, 2024 is going to come in with a bang, at least in the global war front. A lot of things are heating up. Iran has moved one of their battleships, their warships, into the Red Sea, which is the same place that a bunch of U.S. military naval ships and other naval ships from Great Britain and France and other places have all put their ships in there to kind of protect commercial shipping from Yemen, but now Iran's there too. So who knows if things are going to heat up there. The United States Navy and the United States government has recalled the USS Gerald Ford, which is our premier top-of-the-line warship, the big aircraft carrier. They've recalled it to come back to the United States, which is suspicious, to say the least. I mean, things look like they're heating up in the Middle East. It doesn't look like there's any de-escalation going on, so why remove a ship and the battle fleet from that area when it looks like it could be needed, unless they have suspicions that things may be happening over here on this side of the pond. There's definitely been talk, and threats and stuff. North Korea is threatening, saying that they're mobilizing and getting themselves ready for war. China, Xi Jinping said that this is the year that they will take back and reunify Taiwan, which is probably not going to happen peacefully. Maybe it could, but probably not. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that. I'm sure there were a few other things that I'm probably missing. Oh, a big thing. Just moments ago, there was an X5 solar flare off the sun. An X5, that's pretty big. It looks like, at least preliminary reports, is that we might just get a glancing blow, not a direct hit from it, based on where it happened. So probably not anything too dangerous, but it just shows that things are heating up on that front too. 2025, they said, was going to be a solar maximum, the start of a solar maximum, but others are saying it may start this year. So we could see increased solar flare activity, which, I mean, some people, maybe myself included, thinks that knocking us back to the Stone Age might be beneficial, at least for a while. Certainly a lot of people would die, and that's not beneficial, but at least stopping all of this, ridiculous great reset garbage and AI and all that. Maybe that's a way of fixing it for a while. I don't know. The point is that there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot. It's just I haven't even hardly looked in the last few days of stuff going on in the news, but the few moments that I kind of glance at what's happening, it's a lot. So, does that mean that we have much less time than what some of you think? Probably so. I don't think that means that the world's going to end tomorrow, but I do think that things are progressing at a pretty quick pace, and we need to be getting serious about our preparations. Food is huge, folks. You gotta be, if you're not doing anything about your food preps, then I don't know what in the world you're doing. You need to be working on producing food, producing. Yes, you need to have food stored. Hopefully, most of you have at least a year's worth of food. That's not that hard. I know that sounds crazy amounts, and that sounds really expensive. You're sitting there thinking, I spend $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 a month in food. How in the world can I have a year's worth of that? Well, you're not storing away what you buy every month. You're putting back at least a year's worth of food to sustain you. It's not as difficult as you think, but you also need to be producing food. So you need to have a plan to get out there and produce food as soon as you're able to and the weather allows it. This absolutely is the year. I was saying last year that last year was the year to push yourself to be able to, expand your food production and produce as much as possible. See, to kind of test. That's what we were doing, to test and see how much food you can produce, how big of a garden, how all that kind of stuff, meat, whatever it is. This is the year to take it serious. By the end of the year, who knows? You may actually be living off of what you've produced. We just don't know at this point. You need to be working very seriously within your community, your close-knit mutual aid tribe type community, the people that you the people that you know and trust, and then working outside of that with people in your vicinity, your regional community, of the ones that you can work together and build some levels of relationships. um, as much as preppers, we want to get into this mindset that as long as my family is taken care of, my home, my castle, right? As long as my castle is taken care of, when it all hits the fan, I can just close the castle doors and I'll be protected. Except that's not how things work. You're really only as prepared as the people around you are prepared, and that's probably not very much for most of you. We need to do things and have preparations and begin communications with the people around us, so that when it all falls apart, our initial threat isn't our next door neighbors trying to kick the door down because they're starving to death. Teach them, talk to them, get them, doing something, okay? I know that's going to vary from location to location. Some of you live a bunch of mindless zombie, plugged into the modern world people around you, but not all of you do. And so you need to be figuring out what you can do to help the people around you to be more prepared, just talking to them, encouraging them. And I know that goes against a lot of prepper type of fundamentals that you don't tell anyone. And I'm not saying you tell them what all you have, but maybe just having conversations with people that you have a gut feeling that they're probably open to the conversation about, man, things are getting bad. I think it's time to start stocking up on some stuff, getting ready. What if all this falls apart? What if the supply chain collapses or gets really bad because of World War III? Or, what if something happens with the sun or China or whatever? Having these conversations, getting people to kind of think and potentially push them into becoming more prepared is essential. Medical stuff, that's so important. You're gonna at some point need some kind of medical aid. You're gonna have an injury, or you're gonna be ill, so making sure that you have that kind of stuff lined up, and probably some for your neighbors. I know, again, goes completely against every kind of prepper fundamental, but how many of you, especially you believers of the book, are going to be okay with watching your neighbor suffer, potentially die, because of an illness or something? That's not a what would Jesus do thing. So I know I go against a lot of norms. I break all the molds, but that's just how I've been my whole life. Having those kind of things set aside and prepared is probably a good idea. I'm not telling you to go out and buy stuff and prepare for all of your neighbors. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that you need to kind of, in your mind and within your preparations, like, okay, if my neighbor becomes ill or injures themselves, could I render some kind of immediate aid to them? Do I have the training, the skills, and the equipment necessary to do some basic stuff? It might go a long way in just building relationships in your community. Because when it all comes down, you're not going to get any help from outside. Government's not going to be there. State government's not going to be there. Local government might be very, very little there, if any. When it all comes down to it, it's going to be you, your family, and the people around you, and the people in your tribe. And so you want to make sure that you've done the best you can to build relationships, because the better the relationship you have with people within your tribe, within your inner community, and with your neighbors and stuff, the less likely it is those people are going to turn on you. It doesn't mean that they won't. It doesn't mean that someone won't turn on you. It just means it's less likely. If you've built a relationship with them, it's less likely that they would turn against you. And so if you have no relationship, if you have not helped them, if you have purposely avoided them, and then they find out you have stuff, because people will, they probably already know, then there's no emotional tie to you to not come after you, okay? You don't have to agree with me. Maybe I'm not correct, but I also, everything that I do, I have to view through the lens of biblical truths, and that kind of that great commission, that last verse in Matthew where Yeshua says to go out and spread this gospel into the world, and to teach people to be like me. Basically, I'm paraphrasing it, but that's what he says. Teach people to be like me. Teach them to how I lived and to emulate that. And if we're closing ourselves off and not caring if other people around us perish, and watching through our window blinds as they do that, the neighbors beside us that we once babysat their child, or they did ours, or whatever, I don't know if that's a very Yeshua thing to do. I mean, I know that that's not a Yeshua thing to do, but so our preparations and our duties as believers and as people that are kind of spreading Yeshua around the world is very different than your typical prepper, right? So we have a lot of work to do, folks, and we may not have as much time left to do it because, again, things are looking pretty crazy. And whether it's going to start with China and Taiwan, the Middle East, or Russia, Ukraine, NATO, I don't know. But it does look like we're not that far away, timeline-wise, that something could pop off. And I suspect what's going to happen is the first thing that happens, it's just going to be a domino effect. And if it happens in the Middle East, it won't be very much longer between, the NATO-Russia thing and then, Russia, China, Taiwan, or vice versa, whatever. I think it's going to be a big domino effect, and it won't take much longer or too long for it to all start falling apart. So definitely be getting yourselves ready, watching what's going on. Keep an eye on this X5 solar flare. It's maybe tomorrow we'll know more. As soon as we know more, I'll give you an update here. Again, the preliminary reports were that we might just get a glancing blow, so it may not be that bad. Even if we got a direct hit, an X5 probably isn't enough to knock us out of commission. We just had, an X4 or something, X3, X4 just a week or two ago. So we lived through that just fine. So I don't think it's the time to go throw everything in your Faraday cages and go climb into your bunkers. But it at least shows that things are heating up on that area too. And it should remind us to reinforce our preparations for EMP and CME. Because those are always on the table and possible things that we experience. Folks, you need to get your houses in order. You need to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.